The wise will inherit honor. The wise will inherit honor. It's time for our midweek Bible study sessions. We've been in Proverbs. We're going to keep going in Proverbs for today anyways, to finish off chapter 3. Chapter 3, verses 27 through 35. 27 through 35 are the verses we shall be looking at. We're going to take our time with it, as is our custom, so that we can truly receive a substance to the inspired literature, giving us practical application, understanding, knowledge, and prayerfully utilize it wisely for our walk in Christ. Wisdom literature, inspired wisdom literature. If everyone tapped into wisdom literature, they would certainly have, and we would certainly take precaution, prudency. We would have insight and discernment from right and wrong. We would make better decisions in life. We would make better decisions for us in this existence here and now, submissive to the natural realm. And we would also be furnished, equipped with spiritual guidance, leading us to the heavenly realm, to the Father, the great I Am, the Ancient of Days, through the Son, the Messiah, His Majesty, our King, our ruler. So we are wise to seek wisdom. It is a recognizable trait of uprightness to not only begin the search to acquire wisdom, but to keep wisdom and to learn further wisdom. It truly is a gem that we ought to participate in. If we would, in all departments of human experience here on this earth, whether it be in government or in corporations, business, right? In academic institutions, faculties, and curriculums, whether it be in the entertainment realm, movies, music, gaming, sports, or in the media category, news and cable, social. If all public servants, it should be a requirement. If I was set to be king for a day, it would be a requirement, no doubt, for all public service. It is governed to keep us humble, self-controlled, in sobriety, thinking straight, looking straight, speaking straight, and it would also furnish us with the necessary tools to teach our children to grow up within the boundaries and instruction of inspired wisdom. Wisdom will have us discern right from wrong to its most precise point. There are things that are on the broad scope of discernment, that for those of us who even have but a surface understanding of morality can identify and say, yeah, that's wrong. But further study gives us greater insight to discern the most precise, elaborate distinction between right and wrong. In other words, we can recognize them by their fruits easier, with more expediency. The wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Whether he be in government, in all branches of government operation and power, or in corporation, or other public services, such as academia, entertainment, and media. All facets of public service we could recognize and say, hey, you know what? No, you're not up for the task. And Not only would it give us a better environment in our household, in our neighborhood, with our neighbors, in our community, in our state, our province, in our nation, it also permits us to have a greater value of interaction and reception of human relationship. A friend, you are seeking to make a friend, right? Someone who is going to perhaps be with you for a large amount of time on this earth, perhaps till the end, a true, genuine, loyal friendship. Well, if we are not governed by the insight of inspired words, we might permit individuals to intrusively infiltrate our lives under the guise of friendship and find ourselves in a very toxic, corrupted engagement. Not all men walk with the same path in their mind, their heart. Some are indeed malicious. There are evil workers who will infiltrate your life, perhaps seeking to exploit you. So, with the capability of discerning right and wrong from the inspired literature, we can, at the very beginning, recognize the quote-unquote red flags and separate ourselves, immediately withdraw ourselves before any devastation or chaos, sorrow, grief can become manifest or fruitful. So it helps us in all of these. It is a true gem of instruction that gives us practical application in all facets of life. The individual you seek to marry, when you seek to find a proper candidate for marriage, and it is more than just the mechanical sense of it all. There is indeed the legal mind to adapt an individual that would certainly qualify to our faith in Christ. It's more than that. There is emotional investment involved as well. So when you are actively seeking, at times you are not actively seeking, again, he or she may enter into your life or seeking to enter your life. Can we recognize our standard in Christ? Can we recognize the boundaries to our well-being and those around us? Will this man or woman be a true, genuine candidate for marriage? If not, move along. It goes further than just physical attraction. Yes, that might capture us initially, saying, wow, she's a very pretty girl. He's a handsome boy. But if you solely seek a lifelong relationship off of the pleasing eye, we have found ourselves in deep consequence, right? Now, at times, you can certainly find the very beautiful girl, the very beautiful boy, the handsome man, the beautiful woman. That both is beautiful outside and inside. I mean, that happens, no doubt. Certainly. But it goes more. It has a more profound discernment to recognize a person you want to say I do before God and man and law for life. The insight of the Proverbs teaches us how to properly seek the right kind of candidate for marriage. So not only will it help us in our friendships or seeking a proper friendship, it will also in marriage with the individual who is a friend, no doubt, or should be a true and genuine friend. The most personal and intimate friend you will have is the individual you ought to marry. Also, in the realm of employment or employee, right? Your career, your job. It could be in the secular world, no doubt, underneath labor practices, or in the corporate field, or in other business forms, if you are structured to the insight of the Proverbs, you will make better decisions. You'll make better decisions when it comes to your finances. It governs us to be better stewards of our finances, to make wise decisions in regards to the needs, letting go all the wants. And if we take care of our needs, we might get a small percentage of the wants as a blessing throughout the year. The scriptures and the insight of inspired wisdom guides us to becoming financially responsible. Responsible with our finances, responsible with our careers, our work, responsible with our relationships in all its modules, its branches, whether it be friends, neighbors, co-workers, spouse, siblings, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever, wherever it is indeed. And it will also teach us our engagement or our addressing of those who would be in the category of the enemy. Okay, the insight of the Proverbs, birthed from the mind of God, no doubt. We recognize it through the example of our King, His Majesty, our Master, Christ Jesus, and the way He interacted with His enemies, right? We learn from those things. There's someone at work that is insufferable. He or she is just a constant murmur, complain, gossip. The individual has a malicious heart. The individual is, whatever the situation, you find yourself in a deep discouragement or in a anxiety to go to work because of this coworker, How to address such people in a location that's kind of out of your control to a certain degree, no doubt. You can always perhaps seek other employment or approach the employer and say, hey, listen, this coworker is just one of the most negative individuals imaginable, and he is not working properly. You can try that, but that's a bit tricky, isn't it? It's kind of like the student at school who recognizes a delinquent in the class, and he approaches the teacher and says, fellow student here is, and then that fellow student is approached by the teacher, and lo and behold, you're the one that is the target now of blame, and that brings up a whole new challenge for that situation. Well, the insight of the Proverbs govern us to recognize each experience that we have as human beings and how to address, how to deal with, how to persevere through. If you are found already in a friendship that is toxic or a marriage that is toxic, and I utilize the word toxic in descriptive way because that's the common dialect of our age, but in true essence could be lawless, right? A friendship, quote unquote friendship, a snare you find yourself in with a lawless individual. That's more accurate to the term. And the same can apply perhaps in a marriage. You are wed to an individual who is lawless, lacks discernment and wisdom, and causes much pain in the marriage. Maybe you find yourself in that kind of a situation. All situations is what we're getting at. Every department of human experience. The insight of inspired wisdom governs us to discern right from wrong, to utilize prudency, not only to, how should I say, not only to activate precautionary measures so as to avoid threatening hostilities or poor decisions, if you will. It is also active and available if we already have made foolish decisions and find ourselves in foolish situations with consequences coming about. It will teach us how to navigate through that, how to slowly diminish the severity of the consequences around you that we have put ourselves in, no doubt, And it does have a light at the end of the tunnel. How do we get out of this current bind? It will teach us how to do that. So we're going to be reading Proverbs chapter 3, and we are at verse 27, going forward in this session for this hour through verse 35. As we do, friends, it's good to have you. It's an honor to have you. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you and I together we can learn stuff and apply that stuff to our lives, being more so mature in our faith and pleasing to God, no doubt. And He will give us further opportunities to serve in His kingdom if we truly embrace and practice the wisdom of His literature. Stefan Maillet is my name, addedsouls.com is my website, and I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. East Coast churchofchrist.ca or .com. Why? East Coast? We're on the East Coast of Canada. Everything around here is called East Coast. It's a geographical marker, if you will. We're on the East Coast. Here is the location. So therefore, the East Coast Church, we are a collective body of individuals who make up His Majesty's bride, right, of belonging to Christ. That's it. East Coast Church of Christ. We are on the East Coast. We are a church, and we belong to Jesus Christ. We are well aware that there are others out there who utilize a Church of Christ in many different ways. There are denominations that call themselves the Church of Christ. There are cult-like organizations that call themselves the Church of Christ, and they may utilize the name of Christ in ways that bring reproach to His Majesty's name. That is certainly out there. You will find that, no doubt. But we are separate and apart. We are independent, autonomous. We are solely governed by the book we can read together collectively as His Majesty's kingdom in this local assembly. We have elders. We will soon have deacons. We are submissive to one another. We simply follow what is in the book. We serve one another, and we simply follow the instructions of the Bible. And we are in fellowship with all other churches that belong to Christ and follow the same instruction, as Paul would speak to the Corinthians, that you all think the same thing and speak the same thing and judge righteously, right? So we are belonging to the same doctrine, if you will, and we learn together the love and mercy and grace and forgiveness of the Christ. We get to know who Jesus is. We have no earthly headquarters. There's no one we call and say, hey, what am I supposed to believe in this week, right? Most of us, if not all of us, quite disenfranchised with various denominational branches out there, so we chose to go back to Jerusalem in the first century and just follow what the Bible says, pre-denominational, if you will, simply belonging to Christ. And so here we are, the East Coast Church that belongs to Christ. And if that sounds familiar to you or attractive to you, if you'd like to change the chapter of your life, reach out to us, East Coast churchofchrist.ca. We'd love to have you. Again, it'd be an honor and a privilege. We have visitors every week, some returning, some new to the table, and we're all truly recognizing a faithful family. We all struggle. We're all human beings. We're all dealing with this, that, and the other. But together, in Christ, following His Majesty, there's hope, there's peace, there's healing, there's comfort. So, if you're on the East Coast of Canada, check us out. Okay, let me put up the text here on the screen so that we can read together, you and I. We are streaming live on our Facebook page. We are streaming live on my Rumble channel, Added Souls, and also on my YouTube channel, Stefan Maillet. Afterwards, I will upload on Substack, and Substack from there on out will provide the audio podcast to iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Google, and many other various locations. So please consider subscribing, following, liking, engaging, right, with the material. It helps others out there who might want to tap into the substance and gain a benefit in their life, a challenge perhaps. So please consider doing that, and please consider supporting. It's how my wife and I, we survive through His Majesty's grace when you support us monetarily, when you financially choose to donate and gift. My wife and I have food, shelter, and clothing, and we can therefore provide in an expedient way to the church we love, right? Both in treasury and independently to the needy or in gift. So know that your spiritual partaking in your financial giving is not in vain. And our faith, if you are new here, you need to know we are public with it. We are transparent. You can see the work. You can see our lives through our various social media platforms. And you can certainly reach out to us for a phone call or email exchange or a video chat. Stuff like that's always available. Okay, so in verse 27, Proverbs chapter 3, what does it say here? Let's open up the text. I'm reading from the King James Bible, but I also have the New American Standard next to me just to kind of give us a bit of different words meaning the same thing, if you will, a bit of a wider platform for descriptive purposes. Proverbs 3:27 says here, "Withhold not good from them to whom it is due." Wisdom literature, teaching us how to be wise, teaching us how to function in a better, more amplified measurement, right? Withhold not good from them to whom is due. That's from the King James, and over in my New American Standard, it says, "Do not withhold good from those whom it is due." So we kind of have a similarity there. They kind of wrote it the same way. Don't keep back the idea, of course. Don't keep back what is an honorable mention or festivity or celebration to an individual, a brother or sister, who has truly worked hard for such an achievement. Don't do that. Be mindful, thoughtful of a brother or sister who has worked very hard for perhaps an academic pursuit, receiving diplomacy. That should have mention. It is an honorable and upright work and education. It deserves, if you will, for the tranquility and the emotionally peaceful assembly to mention a brother or sister. Speaking now of the local assembly, but this, of course, in principle applies to all facets of life, even out there among the unbelievers in the secular world. They understand it very well. That's why if you work for a certain company long enough, you may be awarded a plaque, employee of the month, right? Why? Well, it motivates us, doesn't it? If you are the recipient, if individuals have taken notice of your hard work, and they are thoughtful to honor you in that field, one is motivated more so to even try harder and be better in his employment or as a member of His Majesty's local assembly. We here over at the East Coast Church of Christ, we certainly participate in those things. It is a most joyful participation, a festivity, a celebration, whether it be birthdays or anniversaries or goals achieved. Some perhaps receiving employment. That's to be congratulated. It's an honorable, upright part of our existence. And so brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so is mentioned in our assembly, and we dedicate a fellowship meal to which we have fellowship, and a meal each Sunday is designated to perhaps a goal achieved or an anniversary or a birthday, a milestone of sorts, correct? Yeah, absolutely. In our assembly, we have all sorts of departments of employment. And when a brother or sister has attained a goal or an achievement is notable, we mention and theme. Okay? It is motivational, and if for the sheer comfort to say, you know what, that makes me feel happy, because it is an act of kindness upon me that these brethren have recognized. And that's so wonderful. I myself and my wife have received numerous gifts from brethren in the congregation. We love them dearly, and they love us. And they also have blessed us in theme to recognize our work. And do you know how peaceful that is, and how warmly received that is, to be in a congregation where they recognize the hard work you put into it? If you are in an employment where you are never recognized for the hard work you put in, you might start to think they don't really care about all the hard work you put in for them. And you might start looking for other employment. And your impression of that location might not be up there in your priority. Right? It's the same in local assemblies. You walk into a local assembly, it is not warm and welcoming. It seems quite cold and distant and isolated. Folks in there seem more so submissive to intimidation or fear rather than a true joyful family. You won't be staying in such a local assembly. You'll withdraw yourself from such a local assembly. Sadly, some, having the name of Christ, behave in such delinquent ways. And I've spoken to many community members and other brethren who have withdrawn themselves from such a location, saying, they may have Jesus on the sign outside, but we didn't see Jesus inside there at all. It was cold, it was brash, it was heavy-handed, it was divisive, and you could tell there was a cabal, if you will, of corruption that was in charge and preeminence there, and it was just a very bad experience. Well, you and I, we don't want to participate in anything that would bring reproach on the name of Christ. We don't want to push away people that might be valuable contacts for Christ. We don't. How so? By being genuine, by truly loving Jesus and loving His Word and loving our fellow man. At the East Coast congregation here, we activate the honor that is due to brethren who have worked hard. It is not in the boastful pride of worldly or fleshly desire, but rather a very passive, submissive, humble reception of an achievement which motivates us to move forward. My wife and I and the members of the East Coast congregation, we certainly practice those things. And it was not burdened upon us. It was quite organic, spiritually moving forward and saying, yeah, these are things we should do. We've been doing it from the first day God planted the East Coast Assembly. It's most important. We have some of our young adults who were accepted into the military. That's an honorable mention. That needs to be taken into account and themed in our fellowship to thank God for the wonderful acceptance these brethren have had. We have ourselves soldiers, we have political influence, we have all sorts of departments of employment that are upright and active, and we help each other as a congregation. Someone is seeking employment, we have a wonderful sister in Christ in the assembly whose employment is to find employment for you. Isn't that wonderful? Absolutely. We have all branches working together. And the Proverbs teach us, of course, this kind of function, being fruitful for Christ. Withhold not good from them to whom is due. Give a brother or a sister who has done something well, give them a gift. If you can. It doesn't need to be monetary. No, I know it doesn't need to be that. I've received beautiful clothing. I've received nourishment, food. I've received, throughout the years, we, the Maye family, have received all sorts of gifts. And we are thankful for them. And we keep that in the inventory of our thoughts when we speak to God and we mention the names of the brethren who have gifted us in so many ways. Withhold not. Don't keep it to self. Don't become bitter Well, I suppose I have to give. Don't be that way. That's not the behavioral attitude of the Christ in regards to a faithful brother or sister. Shouldn't be reluctant, right? It shouldn't be reluctant and in a hesitant way with a bittered heart. Well, it's her birthday. I suppose I should give her a card. Well, that's not the attitude we should have. If you find yourself in that attitude, something's wrong within. And, well, there's a challenge for us to change that. We need to confess that to God. I've not been upright that way. It's important, whether it be giving a drive to a fellow brother or sister. It should not be a burden. As a matter of fact, we should be looking forward to it. How can I help? Sadly, some brethren, they never give. They're always in a state of inconvenience. Everything's an inconvenience for them. They don't give right. They don't participate. They're always taking from you. They are not an asset. They are a liability. And somehow everything to them is an inconvenience. I suppose I have to buy a card for sister so-and-so. I suppose I have to give a drive to brother so-and-so. Well, I suppose now we're going to have to mention this or do that. Everything's a murmur, 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 complain, complain, complain. Everything's a problem. Even when there is no problem at all in the congregation they will find a fault somewhere. They'll create it, won't they? We know what that looks like. We've been in the church long enough to see what that looks like. There's nothing. We are a faithful congregation, brother. What are you? Well, this, and well, that, and just creating problems, You got to stay away from a brother who's caught in that snare. Of course, after you've gone through the loving steps necessary to have him change, and be like, hey, brother, you can't have that attitude. You cannot have that heart. That's not going to build up. That's not going to edify. That's not going to encourage. That's going to push people away and create all kinds of factions, and it's poisonous. It can contaminate other members and cause a problem. No, let's not do that. Let's not do that, brethren. Let's truly look at each other and see the peace we have. It's been mentioned many times at the East Coast congregation. If you are seeking to find a problem here, it will probably be by your own fault, if you will. It's not because we're perfect from our own selves, far from it, but it's because we have a true, genuine heart. And that's what you want to find in a faithful congregation. Withhold not good from them to whom it is due. The verse continues, says, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. I may not be able to give such honor to a brother in another country somewhere, somehow, and it's maybe out of my reach. It's not because in my mind I can't have a prayer for the brother in his honor, but it's just not in my reach. And at times, it may not be in your ability to do so to a certain measurement. Your participation may just be signing the card with your name. A good cheer. Congratulations. You may not be capable of participating in other ways, but that is sufficient. Withhold not good from them to whom is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. If the opportunity is before you, you should seek to apprehend that opportunity and utilize it for the greater good of His Majesty's kingdom. A local assembly that practices Proverbs 3:27 is a growing and healthy congregation. Truly. And an individual who practices these things out there in the unbelieving world is going to make the love of Christ attractive. You give a coworker a card for his or her birthday, they might just say, man, nobody's done that to me here at work. Like, nobody even cares that it's my birthday here. And you gave me a card. You knew my birthday. I'm so thankful. That might ignite, spark a conversation leading to, well, gospel insight. We have to be aware of our surroundings, and God blesses us with the service to, at times, create the opportunity before us. His providence provided. Are we paying attention to the moment? Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. And that's something. Okay, let's move forward to the next verse here, because as you see, we can spend much time on one verse and one word, and it's fun. We don't want to rush things. We're taking our time. If we don't get to verse 35 today, we will next week, Lord willing. But let's see how far we go. Proverbs 3:28. It says, "Say not unto thy neighbor, Go, and come again, and tomorrow I will give, when thou hast it by thee." Okay, say not unto thy neighbor, Go, and come again, and tomorrow I will give, when thou hast it by thee. In the New American Standard, it says, do not say to your neighbor, Go and come back, and tomorrow I'll give it, when you have it with you. Okay. In other words, we were speaking a bit about the reluctant temptation, or the temptation to be reluctant in a moment in which we should just give. Right? In a moment in which we should just give. At times, the immediacy of the opportunity demands our honor at that very moment. We ought to give at that very moment, whether it be the kindness of words to recognize a neighbor's help, perhaps with the yard work, or a neighbor's kindness in a gift, a neighborly gift, whatever the cause, if it is upright, no doubt. Don't say to your neighbor, yeah, I'll take care of you tomorrow or the day after, when you know you can today. Take hold of that opportunity then and now. At times, we certainly miss the mark with those moments. We're like, I'm not sure what I should say or do here. Well, let's learn to be better at those moments, to engage and interact with our neighbors better, co-workers, family, friends, brothers and sisters in His Majesty's local assembly. Say not unto thy neighbor, Go and come back, and tomorrow I'll give, when thou hast it by thee. Do you have an opportunity for your brother today? Give it now. Is there employment you can share his way? Share it now. Is there a gift? A financial gift? A gift of nourishment, of food, of clothing? Do it now, while you still can. Tomorrow you might not be able to. Tomorrow you might just forget it. And then goes off a brother or sister or neighbor or coworker or that says, well, I guess they didn't appreciate all that much. If you are inviting neighbors to your house with the practice of hospitality, and they eat of your food, and you are blessed with the joy to share with them a gift of such measurement, and they don't recognize the gift, and they just kind of take it for granted, and you feel almost as if you've been used and they go and they don't even say thank you. Well, you know what that feels like. If you've walked on this earth long enough, some of us have recognized, they didn't even say thank you. I've always had regret with a moment in my life. I was young. I was very young. Maybe I just got into my teenage years, maybe around that time. And I would drive my bike to go see some friends in my street where I grew up. And there was always a German Shepherd that was loose, and he'd attack us all the time. And he attacked me, and I was screaming, and he was going to bite me. And the neighbor just immediately came out running and screaming and got rid of the dog. I was so frightened, I got on my bike, and I just left. I didn't even thank the man. I've always had that on my heart. It's so strange. If ever I get the opportunity to see this neighbor again somewhere, I'd be like, hey, I'm that stupid little kid there. You helped, you helped that day from getting bitten alive from a dog. And I never said thank you, but hey, man, listen, thank you. You saved me that day. A great deal of pain probably from that dog. And well, he must have thought, well, that bratty little kid never thanked me for that. He never thanked me for that. And maybe he hasn't either. Maybe he doesn't even think of the thing. Maybe he'd be like, I don't even remember that, man. But good on you for saying thank you. The point is, it's a thing, isn't it? In human connection, it's a thing. And I ask forgiveness to God if there are ever times where I've received a gift, if I've ever been practiced kindness upon myself that I've not recognized or not given honor to, because I don't want to do that. I've probably done that, but I don't want to do that. I don't want that to be an active practice of mine. Now, in the age I am, having gone through many things in life, we tend to not take many things for granted, don't we? When a gift is given, it's a beautiful thing. And we recognize the face, the name, and the gift, and we thank God. Yeah, that's what we have to do. Today, now. Now's the time to do that. Let's not wait for tomorrow. We might not even be around tomorrow. And if we are around tomorrow, who knows? Maybe we won't have the opportunity to share that gift or that kind word or to extend help in one way or another. Right? So we move forward to verse 29. And it says, quoting now, Proverbs 3:29, devise not evil against thy neighbor. Kind of like the reversal of giving a gift and honoring is now the plot to do evil against a neighbor. We ought not to do that. That is not a behavior we should be activated in. Yet, sadly, we certainly know it is something out there. We've experienced it. It's in the world. It's sadly also some congregations have not properly secured the spiritual boundaries of His Majesty's love and law, and they've permitted evil-minded brethren to come in there with the heart to devise evil against their fellow neighbors. Some of us have been the victims of such kinds, and it's a devastating experience, no doubt. And we learned many things through those experiences. And so we see the insight of God's mind to say, don't do that. Do not do that. That will lead to many lawless ways, and it will create much pain and grief and sorrow and separation and all that kind of stuff. Don't devise evil against thy neighbor. Your neighbor may be your fellow brother or sister in the local assembly. Your neighbor may be your co-worker at work. Even those you think they deserve it all, they deserve what they are and what they get. They should reserve what they throw out there, right? They are evil, so therefore I will practice evil on them. You know, that kind of retaliation or revenge or unrighteous behaviors against them. No, we can't do that. No, don't devise evil against thy neighbor. You know, you're plotting, you're premeditated, you're thinking about how I can do something like this to them. Some men live that way. It's sad. Some men and women, some brothers and sisters, that's how their heart is twisted. Look at the Pharisaical that Jesus was rebuking. Those same kind of brethren, they are well and alive around the world, infiltrating and taking over local assemblies. Can't permit them to do that. They devise. Look at how they wanted to murder Jesus. They would plot and twist in secrecy behind closed doors, right? What can we do? They were afraid of the crowds. They were cowards, weren't they? What can we do? People are starting to believe this man named Jesus. What do? We got to get rid of him. Oh, they were very glad when Judas chose to betray Jesus, right? One of their own kind. It kind of gave them justification before the crowds, right? Look, one of their own kind came forward against him. Oh, yeah. Those kind of men, they exist in the church today as well. That's why Paul says you need to point them out. Get rid of that. Avoid them at all cost. You'll get in a lot of trouble. Devise not evil against thy neighbor. Some coworkers, they do that. How can I get this? The coworker who is drenched in bitterness, he can't figure out why he never gets a raise, why he never goes up the ladder at work. He can't see further than his own pride. He's the problem. That's why the boss is not giving him a raise. That's why Nobody truly likes being around him, but somehow it's everybody else's fault, right? See that? Have ever seen that coworker, right? He's just plotting how he can get you fired because you have integrity, you work well, you're on time, you're punctual, you're productive, you get the raises. You are growing in the career and you're going up the ladder. He can't stand that, so he's seeking ways to get you fired. He'll lie about you. He'll slander you. He'll go to the boss and say stuff about you that's not true. Look at what they did politically to Daniel in the scriptures with the recorded account, right? Going to the king and saying, "Oh yeah, he's been doing stuff you mandated, and you said we weren't allowed to do this, that, and the other, and he's been doing all that kind of stuff. He's the problem." Trying to get rid of him. Don't devise evil against your neighbor. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not productive. That's not faithful. Some do that in local assemblies. They want to take preeminence. Right? They whisper, they gossip, they slander, they utilize flattery or intimidation. They recruit the low-hanging fruit. They recruit the weak, the vulnerable, the delinquents that should have been withdrawn from. They recruit, and then they create the faction, and they push out the faithful. They devise. They've been devising this. Some brethren, preachers, they are corrupted in such ways. They devise evil against their neighbors. Right? God is not with them. They do evil things, and then they turn around and cunningly convince others out there that they are righteous. Got to be careful with that. Got to be able to discern these men. Stay away from them. Devise not evil against thy neighbor, seeing he dwelleth securely by thee. In the New American Standard, it says, do not devise harm against your neighbor while he lives securely beside you. Devise not evil against thy neighbor, seeing he dwelleth securely by thee. Why are you trying to disrupt, find fault? The issue is found within the heart of the individual who devises. He wants to disrupt the well-being and the security of his neighbor. Jealousy, perhaps, greed, envy. These things are real. These things exist. Next verse 30 says, quoting now Proverbs 3:30, strive not with a man without cause, if he have done thee no harm. In the New American Standard it says, do not contend with a man without cause. Don't argue with someone for no reason, if he has done you no harm. He's not done anything to you. He's your coworker. He's working well. He has integrity. He's punctual. He's productive. He deserves the honor of a raise. Why are you so angry? That, again, shows insight into one's heart being bittered, jealous. Why does he get to have the wonderful marriage and the wonderful family? Why does he get to have all kinds of friends? And why does he continue to be... Why does he... I've seen preachers get so corrupted in their hearts and bitterness. Why does he have the keynote speaking function? Why does he get invited to all the lectureship circles? Why don't I get anything? Why does anybody care about me? Then they get so bitter they start to slander. Why does he have the platform on the podcast so popular? Why does he do this and why does he do that? They get so bitter. I've seen brethren, preachers. I don't listen to many preachers these days. I don't listen to much of them anymore, to be honest with you. I've got to meet the biggest names in the brotherhood, and I got to meet the little names in the brotherhood. I haven't got to recognize that really only a very small portion of them are really faithful Christians, like true, genuine, loving heart servants who love and sacrifice for the kingdom, and they love Jesus, and only a very small portion of them. Most of them are just fancy suits, expensive names. They're fake as plastic. Oh, they certainly speak a good game through their podcast or their online presence and their gatekeeping ways. They'll certainly have a crowd completely devoured by their thoughts. Some of them can preach a sermon that'll change your life. Some of them are very scholarly, truly charming in the way they deliver the message, the way they can see the insight of the word and put it together. You'll fall in love with them. You'll be like, this brother is a sound gospel preacher. Like, wow, I look at the things he's capable of saying in the text. Yeah, but his heart's far away from God, though. His heart is evil. It devises evil against its neighbor. It's slanderous. It's unrighteously divisive. And he lies as he breathes. The only time he's not lying is when he's directly quoting the scripture. I don't listen to preachers all that much anymore. Kind of got turned off by those things. Oh, I'll still listen to sound material, no doubt, but the scriptures is the sole location for our governance, faithful brethren, common blue-collar folk. That's my department. So the text, of course, strive not with a man without cause. There's no reason to argue with an individual if he's done you no harm. Some just are argumentative. It doesn't matter what you say or how you say it, they're going to argue with you. I got so tired of those individuals. One of the experiences I've had with several in my past, these kind of men, right? There's nothing you can say that they will agree with. There's always an angle. There's always a problem. There's always an argument. The sky is blue. Well, not really. It depends on. They're always going to find something to argue with you about. It's never good enough for them, and there's always a problem. When really there isn't. Like in reality around them, there really isn't a problem. A wolf in sheep's clothing will infiltrate the local assembly. A local assembly that is trying its best to be faithful and whatnot. And this individual will certainly begin to be argumentative with everything, just finding fault in anything and everything. And sadly, a wolf in sheep's clothing will exploit the weakness of delinquency that should have been withdrawn from, and it will push away. He will push away the faithful and those who truly have a humble heart to change for Christ and things like that. Brethren, co-workers, friends, family, who are just driven by always arguing against you when there's really no reason to argue. There is certainly at times moments for arguing. You need to argue at times with individuals, upright arguments, righteous arguments. At times we must defend the truth when a lie is spoken, no doubt. So it's not as if arguing at all times or argument at all times is always unrighteous, but in this context, you're speaking of the argumentative person, just always finding a fault, always 2 + 2 makes 4. Isn't it just so easy to say, yeah, 2 + 2 makes 4? That's a good point. No, the argument, the brother who is argumentative all the time is just, well, and he's going to go into it because he has to prove himself smarter than you. He has to say in his own mind, I'm right and everybody else is wrong. They're in the Pharisaical kind. The Pharisaical kind are so governed in their pride, knowing the law, that they think they've saved themselves in their own mind. It's a sad display of corruption at times that creeps into a congregation or a workforce or a relationship. Strive not with a man without cause, if he has done thee no harm. There's no reason to get into it with someone who hasn't done, they haven't done anything to you. Why get into it with them? Just to start an argument. Oh, social media is just social media, Facebook and every other. It's just it welcomes it, doesn't it? Yes, welcome arguments. Just make arguments and start fights with people. It's just, it welcomes it, doesn't it? And we're not talking about, again, moments of uprightness. We're not speaking about upright argument. On your Facebook profile or on your Facebook page or group, you can certainly just share a post speaking or quoting a scripture or speaking a truth or exposing an evil. That's a different category. We're not speaking about that. That can be honorable, upright, and necessary. No. What we're talking about here is just unrighteous condemnation, just provoking people unrighteously to anger or creating a fuss that has not the motive of love and the truth and things like that. That's what we're talking about. That's what the insight of the word is speaking here. So strive not with a man without cause if he has done thee no harm. We move to verse 31. Verse 31, chapter 3 of Proverbs. And it says, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. Verse 31, in the New American Standard says, do not envy a man of violence, and do not choose any of his ways. I wish I could be like him. Yeah, the strong brute who doesn't seem to care for anyone or anything. Violent, intimidating, pushing people, exploiting them, taking advantage of them. It's not something to envy. It's not something we should seek to be. It's not a honorable personality. But the world will try to have us convinced it is, though. Like, this is what you should be. The ruthless businessman, right? The pharisaical, the diatrophic spirit. He takes what he wants. He takes preeminence. No, let's not do that. Envy thou not the oppressor. He's an oppressor. You don't need to be Pharaoh. You don't need to be Caesar. And choose none of his ways. His ways don't lead to life and peace and comfort and forgiveness and compassion and benevolence, and it don't lead there. It leads to pain, devastation, sorrow, chaos, disorder, riot. There's nothing in the oppressor to have us desire his ways. Let's not go that direction. It will not be fruitful. And individuals like that in a congregation, it causes a lot of pain. A lot of pain. We don't want to do that. The next verse, verse 32. 32. For the froward is abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous. Verse 32 in the New American says, for the devious are an abomination to the Lord, but he is intimate with the upright. So the froward, the devious, they are not received and are not blessed by God at all. They are an abomination. They are lost. They are evil. They are evil. But God is indeed intimate with the upright, those who are righteous and faithful and transparent, honest, genuine. God is found with those loving souls. But for the froward, no. The devious, those who devise evil against their neighbor, those who seek to take preeminence, unrighteous preeminence, those who slander and lie, filled with bitterness and jealousy, the oppressor, no. Those delinquencies in a man is an abomination to the Lord. An abomination to the Lord. It shouldn't be that way. And sadly, there are men like that. And there are men like that creep into the local assembly. They creep into your life under the guise of friendship. And I speak these things quite often, not to make anyone weary, but for awareness. It's a problem. And just looking the other way and saying, well, that's negative and I don't like that kind of talk, is not going to make the problem go away. Matter of fact, it's going to aggravate it. It's going to make it worse. You keep itching that rash, it's going to get worse. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be found like that, right? In 3 John, verse 9 and 10, John speaking to Gaius, he says, I wrote unto the church, but Diotrephes, who loveth to have the preeminence among them, receiveth us not. Wherefore, verse 10, if I come, I will remember his deeds, which he doeth, prating against us with malicious words, and not content therewith, neither doth he himself receive the brethren, and forbiddeth them that would, and casteth them out of the church. Casteth them out of the church. They're in the maliciousness, the devious individual, right? The froward, the duplistic, the sinister, the malicious brute. Oh, he will certainly cunningly, as the gatekeeper, keep all in his secrecy. And he only displays the narrative he wants you to believe. And he pushes everyone away. We've recognized that. Some of us have gone through those moments in life. We had fraudulent individuals masquerading as our friends, and we thought them to be friends at a distance. And they were, now knowing the truth, they were playing a quite cunning act upon us. We thought them genuine. There were red flags, but we looked the other way. We would assume good in them, and they would come visit and they'd put on an act. But then when they finally came to our shores to stay, yeah, they infiltrated, contaminated, recruited, slandered, intimidated, and they pushed out about 30 souls. 30 souls. And come to find out, they've been doing that for, every local assembly, everything they seem to touch just dissolves in chaos. But yet you wouldn't know that because they keep that in their secrecy, their lies. So they outwardly on their platforms have you fully convinced that everything they've done is righteous. They are the victims. They speak of their struggles. No, they are unrighteously divisive. They are prideful. They are fraudulent. They are everything they've accused the innocent of being. The froward is an abomination to the Lord. Diotrephes and his kind and his loyalist, they are an abomination, and they cause much pain in many lives. They separate spouses, they separate friendships, they separate and destroy local assemblies, but they will produce it in a cunning way before you, controlling the narrative, having you fully convinced that they are righteous. And every local assembly they've come into and every friendship they've had and all of these relationships that they've destroyed, somehow they are the victim. And everybody they've pushed away from them and slandered, well, they're the problem. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful. If you're drinking from a poisoned well, you'll believe the lies. I've seen brethren of influence fall prey to these sorts, maybe out of ignorance, or maybe because their hearts are just as bad, just as malicious. Got to be careful. God blessed us with such sorrow, now capable of discerning right from wrong to its precision. We will not, at the East Coast congregation, permit any of those kinds of men ever again to infiltrate and destroy. They bring reproach to the name of Christ in our land. They have a very bad reputation in the community. Individuals who have visited those locations where these men have taken preeminence and control have seen there is no Christ there. Jesus is no longer there. For the froward is an abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous. The Lord is with the upright. He is intimate with the upright. That's where God is found. It was interesting because in a time of deep sorrow, having been the victims of fraudulent individuals, which one day, no doubt, justice will be had and their names will become public. They have a long list of victims and people they've taken advantage of throughout the years, and there are many things taking place I have nothing to do with, but I am aware of, and The truth always comes out, no doubt, and that will indeed happen. It is an inevitable. Even if it were to be the day of judgment, it is an inevitable day of justice to come upon the devious, the malicious, the duplistic, the slanderers. But for those who are upright, Christ is with us. Doesn't mean we are perfect in of ourselves, but through Christ we are made pure, and our hearts are well, and Christ is with us. When we had been pushed away, along with, again, many brethren, we were uncertain of our future. So we told ourselves, we will go here and go there. We will do this and do that. But God had another plan. He had to take and create and build his house with the faithful, now having withdrawn us with quite a surgical precision away from the delinquency of evil individuals. And he has made us to be fruitful. And it is indeed a evidence to the fact. It is an evidence to the fact. For the froward is an abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous. Friends, stay focused on the goal. Do what's right, even when you are the recipient of evil individuals, even when you see evil individuals. And I speak at times from the local assembly, the church, but this applies in all facets of life. Again, as we mentioned, it could be in a relationship, a marriage. It could be with coworkers, employment, employee, employer. It could be within your finances. It could be in all departments. If we receive the message and instruction of the Proverbs and we practice, we shall indeed have a better opportunity for a better life, here and now, and also unto the everlasting. Verse 33 says, "The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just." Verse 33 in the New American says, "The curse of the Lord is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the dwelling of the righteous." The curse that is found from the Lord in the house of the wicked is the house in which Diotrephes has taken preeminence. He and his corrupt cabal. Whether it be in the local assembly, or it be at the workforce, in your career, in your community, as a neighbor, whoever, wherever is found, he invokes the curse. And you will find individuals he has devoured in deep discord and hate and bitterness, and they are living pharisaically through their worldview and practice against the innocent, and they are firmly convinced in their conscience they are right. But they are only right in their own mind and pride, and they become the recipients of devastation, and they will eternally be lost, though they are fully convinced in their conscience that they are headed towards heaven. They aren't. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked. Not only will they suffer financially, they will suffer in relationships, they will suffer everywhere around them, and they will continue to blame others instead of self. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. And I can speak, of course, from my personal experience with the East Coast congregation and how beautiful it is and how different it is from our previous works and our previous work, to which was again apprehended by fraudulent individuals. The Christ has brought much blessing to a faithful house with pure hearts. He has taken 5 souls in 2022 and made it to be 50 souls in 2025. It is not of our human doing or boastful works, if you will, but it is of Christ and His Majesty's grace and mercy, His providence, bringing people together that are faithful to His fold. And you can see the love. You can recognize the love we have for one another, the compassion. We have to be kind to one another. Those who are cursed in the house of wickedness, they are very, very cunning. and they have a very cunning way to teach the scriptures, book, chapter, and verse, to their selfish ambition. And they will have you firmly convinced, to those he has devoured, to those these evil individuals devour, they will fully have convinced that hate is love and love is hate. I've seen them do it. I know how they do it. I could teach a class on how these individuals do it. We've had first hands-on-the-job experience. It's a valuable insight for any shepherd in a local assembly to recognize these sorts, to recognize the difference. You can tell such things when you recognize a split in a local assembly or a community, from which department is found the innocent, faithful party, and which is the malicious, slanderous, lying portion. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. The blessings, all spiritual blessings, are indeed a wonderful gift. They have healed me and my family, brought us much comfort. Though our slanderers in secrecy have tried to and have managed to convince some of many lies of our character, they've tried to diminish the integrity of our work to some. But for kind and humble hearts, they can recognize and discern the difference. There are so many blessings in the habitation of the just, where we truly understand law and love combined. He gives us fellowship. He gives us relationships that are thoughtful towards one another. He gives us eternal peace. Remember how we began this journey this day in the Proverbs? For the Lord, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, right? In a blessed house, the habitation of the just, God is found with those such practices: benevolence, charity, hospitality, forgiveness, unity, speaking the same thing, thinking the same way in regards to the doctrine of our Lord, giving honor to each other, achievements, celebration, festivities, goals, honorable mentions. You'll find that within the blessings of the just. In the household of the cursed, the wicked, you'll find a cold, brash shoulder. It is not welcoming. It is confrontational, unrighteously so. It unrighteously provokes anger in your brothers and sisters. It's intimidating and heavy-handed. It's forceful. It beats its fist on the pulpit. It screams of pride and personal bitterness and jealousy. It is not upright. It is not upright. And you do not, I've said this many times to those of you who've been following for a while. You do not want your children growing up. You do not, I repeat, want your children growing up in a local assembly that is wicked. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked. Your children will either be devoured by the evil workers and hate you, or they will immediately leave the church. They won't have anything to do with it. They've recognized the self-righteous hypocrisy, the slanderous ways, the hate, and they don't want none of it. When a child grows up in a corrupted congregation that is governed by Diotrephes and is devoured loyalist, that child is either going to become a fruit. Therein ye shall know them by their fruits. He will become the student to now the loyalist of the Diotrephic spirit, and he will hate you. Or he will immediately withdraw himself from that local assembly, recognizing that the world out there and my unbelieving friends have more love for their neighbors than what I've recognized from the self-righteous hypocrisy of these so-called Christians and this so-called gospel preacher. Mark these words. Remember this episode and all the episodes that it is spoken. Your children, if you permit them to grow in such an environment, they will leave the faith. They won't stay there. Or they will become the very enemy that will hate you. They will not become a disciple of Christ. Many parents, I don't understand what happened with my children. Well, we do. We know what happened there. Some are so blind to it, they'll blame everything else. That's what Diotrephes does. He's righteous always in his own mind, and all the devastation and chaos he creates, it's always your fault. It's never his. Verse 33 again, the curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesseth the habitation of the just. Let's go to verse 34 now. We're almost there. Verse 34 and verse 35 to our session. Verse 34 says, surely he scorneth the scorners, but he giveth grace unto the lowly. Right? In the New American Standard, it says, though he scoffs at the scoffers, yet he gives grace to the afflicted. When we've become afflicted as victims of these scorners, these evil individuals, right? These who devise evil, he gives us grace. He gives us hope. He truly permits us eternal peace. When you go through some very challenging sorrows in this life, if you are faithful and humble to Christ, he will heal you. His grace will go to the afflicted. You've lived a hard life of poverty. If you love Jesus and you're humble, he'll take care of you. You are faithful and you've become the recipient of hate, God will take you. Because what the devil pushes out of his temple, God welcomes and adds to his church. Those Diotrephes pushed out, they were embraced by Christ, and he made them his church. And Christ is our majesty. His majesty, our grace. He is faithful and loving. He is kind and forgiving. He is strong and courageous. He is just. Don't fall prey to the cunning ways of a Diotrephic individual. I cannot stress this enough. He'll have you believing that Christ is some kind of malicious, heavy-handed tyrant, and that's a good thing. That's a righteous thing. He'll have you fully convinced that God doesn't care. He's just some sort of mechanical tyrant up there, an oppressor. He doesn't care about your feelings. He don't care about anything you feel. Don't follow those individuals. You'll be poisoned by them. Surely he scorneth the scorners. He does. They are fools before his eyes. But he giveth grace unto the lowly. And in verse 35, finishing off our session here, it says, the wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools. Remember Diotrephes in 3 John, verse 9 and 10? Yeah. A fool. Remember the Pharisees in Matthew 23? Fools. The widow who gave 2 mite? 2 copper coins? Wise. She was wise. The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools. Shame is coming. The truth always comes out, and those who chose to side with evil will be shamed. And those of us who have been begging God for justice will be comforted. There will be closure. Those days, they lay ahead. The great day when the sky opens and the trumpets sound, and the highest court will be in session. There will be peace for those who have suffered. He gives grace to the afflicted. And so, together, you and I, with this session, we learn many valuable things, don't we? And it is applicable in all facets of life, as we began. If you find value and you seek it worthy, please share it far and wide to others on your social media platforms or email or whatever. The point is to have people recognize the inspiration of wisdom literature that will benefit their lives and be pleasing to God in doing so, and move forward to the heavenly realm one day upon our departure. We are not to participate, to support, to encourage, to promote, to vote for evil in any of its facets, in any of its departments. And if we seek to have flourishing, wonderful, healthy, and growing local assemblies that belong to Christ, we cannot permit evil men in there. If we seek to have a government that is for the people, by the people, for the people, we cannot permit evil in there. Or we must contain evil to its lowest degree. Because, there will always be lawlessness, there will always be corruption, but that doesn't mean we need to permit it to flourish and take over. Whether in all facets of human experience, whether it be the spiritual side or the secular side, whether it be within the local assembly, within your own household, within your own marriage or family, neighborhood, community, wherever, the instructions we read from inspired literature must be applied. And it will certainly be pleasing to God and give us a better outcome in life. Stefan Maya is my name. AddedSouls.com is indeed the website. I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. EastCoastChurchOfChrist.ca or .com. It'd be an honor and a privilege to have you. Come study with us. Come learn with us these things further, greater. Maybe it's time to change the chapter of your life. Stop spiraling in depression and discouragement and consequence. Do what's right. Make a decision. Take a stand. It's time to move forward now. It's time to change the pattern. Right? The spiraling downwards, got to stop that. Christ, knowing who Jesus is, will cure us from addictions, cure us from lawlessness and delinquent characteristics and behaviors and personalities, and it'll cure us from sin. That's the whole thing. It may take time. We need to renew our minds, but His love is there. And within the spiritual refuge of a faithful church, I'm telling you, you don't want to go through this life without it. Matter of fact, you can't go through this life without it and expect to go to heaven one day. You can't do that. Jesus and His bride are one. Reach out to us, eastcoastchurchofchrist.ca. Friends, you are loved. You are appreciated. Please stay focused. Please stay positive. And Lord willing, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, we shall have ourselves a topical session. See you there, Lord willing. Bye for now.